Hello fellow photographers. Today we're going to be talking about ethics and how they relate to photography. So today we're going to be touching on ethics and some of the laws surrounding photography. Generally when ethics come up surrounding photography, it's in photojournalism and street photography. There is also, however, Photoshop, and how cropping an image to exclude what's going on can drastically change the feel of the image and how it is received. Wildlife photography also has ethical boundaries and what links you should go to get the shot of the animal. The first and most important thing to know about photography ethics is what are the laws surrounding what you are allowed to do. Every country is going to have different laws surrounding what you're allowed to do. And here in the United States, every state is going to have its own set of laws surrounding what you are allowed to do. Before you go out and shoot something, the first thing you need to do is to look up to see if you're legally allowed to shoot what you're going after. The common rule is that if you're shooting in a public space, then you are allowed to take the photo. Obviously, there are going to be exceptions depending on where you are and what your subject is that you are shooting. Thankfully, this law will not protect perverts who are taking pictures of women's skirts or dresses or something like that. But if you're documenting a public protest where all the adults are protesting clothes and are just walking around the streets in public, you are allowed to document this because there's no reasonable expectation of privacy. So legally, if you're in a public space, you're allowed to take photos of anyone and anything you see. This is even if you can identify the person and you have not received a contract that allows you to shoot them or a model release. You should, however, be careful that you're not unknowingly shooting on private property, like in a restaurant or at a mall. You should also consult a lawyer if you're unsure if you have the right to shoot where you want to shoot. I'm not a lawyer, so do not take my word on any of this. Shooting in a public space gets a bit murky when you start to shoot into people's windows, like Arnie Svensson did for his series The Neighbors. Now, legally, he did not face any criminal charges for what he did because he shot it from the outside looking in and it was protected under the First Amendment. But ethically, was this right? Zebra Herd, a photograph by Art Wolfe, came under controversy when it was released because it included more zebras in the photograph than were actually there. The controversy was that altered photographs do not belong in nature books. Although I think Wolfe won ultimately, he does, however, now list any of his digitally altered images as such. So, ethically, was he right for manipulating the picture? Is it okay as long as you specify that this image has been manipulated? The Terror of War, also known as Napalm Girl, a photograph by Nick Oot. This photo came under controversy because of the nudity that is in it, which I have blurred out. Facebook also had issues with this image, but it was then allowed to be on their site. This was ultimately allowed to be printed because the narrative of the picture outweighed the laws against the nudity. This image was also originally cropped to exclude the soldier rewinding his film to the girl's left. Even sitting president at the time, Richard Nixon, thought that this picture was a fake. He thought that they had intentionally burned the girls' skins with oil so that they could get a more compelling picture, because at the time, nobody had survived napalm burns before. So where the ethics come in. Should the photographer have taken this picture and not interacted with the girl in any way? I do believe he had taken her to a form of a hospital after he had taken the photo. Should he have taken the picture at all? Should the press have even ran this image? Does the overwhelming story of terror that this image portrays outweigh all the other ethics, making it unethical not to shoot this picture and show it to a world that was engaged in a seemingly endless conflict in Vietnam? Here's a picture of then sitting President Barack Obama, taken by Larry Downey, looking at the water off the Gulf Coast of Louisiana right after the BP oil spill. The original picture taken also had Coast Guard Admiral Thad W. Allen and local parish president Charlotte Randolph. The image was cropped to remove Admiral Allen, and parish president Charlotte Randolph was digitally removed from the image as well. This made President Obama look more isolated than he was when the picture was taken. President Obama was even moved slightly in the picture so that the oil platforms behind him showed more clearly in the picture that they had ultimately used. According to the editor of The Economist, She did request a change because she wanted the viewers to focus solely on President Barack Obama. Is this ethical to do? Bruce Gilden is a street photographer who takes the up-close, in-your-face surprise picture to the extreme. He does not break any laws by doing what he is doing, and he does get some very compelling pictures. But are those pictures created at the expense of reducing others' humanity? Or is it just simply a style of shooting? Is it ethical to take photos this way? Richard Prince enlarged screen captures he had taken off of Instagram, put them up in a gallery, and sold them. This was not his original work, but he was still legally allowed to do it. Is that ethical? Tyler Shields has numerous images that he has produced that he looked at the work of others and duplicated it in a way to use in his own photography. Is this considered plagiarism, or is it just imitation? Shooting in the style of some of your favorite photographers is a great way to learn photography better and to be able to shoot how you want to shoot to be more like them. Imitation is the greatest source of flattery, but is it ethical? Brian Walsky has even merged several images he had taken together to sell it as one to sell a specific narrative in the photo. Is this ethical? What if this picture was just considered for art and it wasn't journalism like it was in this case? Does that change whether it could be considered ethical or not? Jose Luis Rodriguez captured a picture of a wolf jumping over a fence. The image itself is real, and it does not distort whether or not that actually happens. The story behind the image, however, was that it was actually a trained wolf that he had jump over the fence, and he entered this photo into a wildlife competition. Is it ethical that he merely staged this scene to photograph that could very well actually happen in nature? What about images of celebrities or influencers who are photographed and then photoshopped to look flawless? This isn't photojournalism, so we're not expected to believe everything that we see. Is it ethical, though, to make those changes? What about when you think about a little kid looking at these celebrities or influencers and seeing their unrealistic, unattainable levels of beauty and wanting to be like them? Does this change what you believe are considered ethical pictures? So now that we've looked at some examples, it's time for us to determine what is ethical and what is not. The first rule is to know the law. There are a lot of pictures you can take that would be considered legal, but not ethical. First off, though, you do need to know what is legal. Is it legal to feed wildlife to get them closer to you and get a better picture of them? In most places it is not. But if you've ever watched Shark Week, that's pretty much exactly what they're doing. They're chugging the water to get the sharks to come to them. So the legality of it there seems to be that it's okay to do there, but know your laws for where you are and what you're allowed to do. Also, does feeding the animal change its behaviors? So think to yourself, is it ethical that you're teaching this animal to come to people for food? So now that we've segued into ethics, this isn't an answer that anybody is going to be able to answer for you. Are you okay with getting in people's faces for your street photography collection? Are you okay with digitally adding more animals into a photograph than were there originally? Are you okay with cropping in an image tighter to change the narrative of the photograph? Are you okay with photoshopping away any imperfections? Just because it is legal does not mean that it is ethical. And those limits will be different for everybody. I guess at the end of the day, as long as the law is on your side and you can sleep at night, keep shooting. I do, however, recommend you take some time to think about what your personal ethics will allow you to shoot. And as always, happy shooting, and I will see you next week.